Hello, Tara. I don't have access to your proposal, but it looks like this is about maybe life in New York City. I wish you would have presented it in a PDF format. That way we could see a little bit different narrative. I'm hoping these are in the correct order. I'm using whatever how they're labeled. Um, but let's just kind of flip through here. We start off with kind of a close-up shot of a walk sign, and then we have, we kind of see the city life a little bit. Just kind of flip through these one time and just kind of look at them. You got a little bit of some exposure issues with the a little bit here. You might have caught somebody off guard here working. Not quite sure why the iPhone's in there. We end with that one. All right, let me look back through here one more time and just kind of go through these. This might be a good starting point. And then I don't know. You can almost take somebody sort of on a journey, a commute, and we don't really know where the destination is. There's a lot of different ways you could have done this. You could use a tripod and long exposure and show blur and the business of the city. The compositions on some of these are a little bit weak, and there's some exposure issues on some of them too. Um, but almost some of them have sort of like a shot aesthetic to it, and that might be kind of what you intended to do. Um, but I would, I kind of have like a personal image here where it looks like we caught somebody, talking to each other. Maybe it's on a subway or something. And then we get these kind of shots where you got somebody with the phone, a lot of people checking their phones. I can kind of see what you're kind of photographed, but if it was composed a little bit tighter, maybe cropped a little bit differently, it could be a little bit stronger. This guy here is kind of distracting. If we waited till the subway's moving and maybe try to photograph some people, there's ways you can do that secretly. And if you're afraid to bothering people in the subway, I'm not quite sure what this one's in here for. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. It does tie back to the orange here, but this could be anywhere. Everywhere has these little cones and trash cans. And this is nice, but there's nobody eating there. I don't, and there's this yellow taxi which shows up again later. I can't quite put the connection to the two. I almost like to see what this is. This is really kind of fascinating. It looks like it might be some kind of monster or logo for this restaurant. And I like the colors here. This might have been a good like close-up shot, or if we had somebody eating here and they got their dog laying there or something. This really needs people. We got one person back here, and it's very empty looking compared to some of these other shots. Again, this guy looks like he's kind of caught off guard. I'm not sure if it's really needed, but it does show, different kinds of food and these street vendors. And then, I'm not quite sure about this one other than now I definitely know it's New York City. And I know there's a subway there and there's a telephone booth. So you might have could maybe photograph this and maybe show the sidewalk or something. I don't know why we have to have the taxi cabs like it's a the brand of the car. There's a taxi, but there's like nobody jumping into it or anything. And there's a bus. Again, we're getting a hint of the New York City here. This isn't really telling me a whole lot. It still has that kind of snapshot feel to it. Where this one's a little bit more interesting, I like the reflection here is really cool. This is something we could maybe just kind of work on this little area. I like how we got this reflection and we're seeing parts of the dress. If we had people walking, what you kind of do right here. This could have been maybe something you could have worked on a little bit more, but I like this picture though. This one I don't really know how it fits in there. This could be anybody, anywhere. The expression on her hands, like she's checking her phone. I'm not quite sure how this ties into anything. And then I don't know why we're kind of ending with this image here. Looks like it's number 12, 11, 12. Okay, so that's number 12. So this is the final image, but I'm not sure why we're ending with the Tony Awards. I don't know if you're trying to show iconic places that we associate with New York City, or if this is kind of somebody's destination where they're trying to get there in time. Another thing you could have done was photograph different times of the day. Maybe photograph some pictures at night or in the evening, in the morning. Kind of show us different looks of the city. It's going to look different at night. It's going to be lit up. It's going to be very colorful. Have different people who are going to come out at night. But this isn't really what I would picture New York looking like, which, it may be so. I've never been there before. But I'd always kind of picture, I like to see more of the buildings and more of the people. I know it's a very unique place with a lot of different types of people living there. And, even with this one, like there's a lot more people here. This up here might be interesting. I don't know if we need to really see where they come in and off the subway. It may be showing some of these street vendors and people buying things from street vendors. This is the only one that has a little bit of personality to it, where we're seeing people's expressions and their daily lives. The rest of them, people look like they're kind of, in between places. But I think it's a good start, and I hope it's something you'll work on some more. I'd like to see this be advanced for, and continued more. I mean, I'd love to go. I still like to go to New York, and this hints at it somewhat, but I don't think it's quite the full picture.